Another chapter is here. Welcome to Don't Burn the Sacred Text. I am one of your hosts, Brandon, and I am not here with my host, Lindsay. I am here with a different friend, a great friend. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Amanda.
Hello, hello.
Out from the pantheons of Patreon, we have you here on Don't Burn the Sacred Text.
Yes, and even that had to take a break for a little bit to get to the end of the school year, but I've got two things to edit and post, and we're rocking and rolling again.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Well, if you guys aren't over on our Patreon, make sure you're over there because, as Amanda mentioned, school is a thing and school years are starting. And if you've been around for a minute, you know that we support schools and support classrooms by putting Star Wars books in the classrooms across the country. So every dollar you guys donate over on Patreon helps that mission. So make sure you go over there, donate $1 a month, and help that mission and get some great content from Amanda. Always a good time over there on Patreon. It's kind of like a random hodgepodge
Yeah.
of things going on, which makes it a lot of fun. So make sure you're going over and checking that out. And even if you can't, no big deal. If you know a teacher or you live by a school and can look up a teacher or whatever, make sure you go over to classroomsavers.net and nominate a teacher so that we can send them some books. We're going to be sending a huge box of books to one school library to start the year, which is going to be fantastic. I've got to start getting that going, and then we'll go from there to whoever you guys nominate and send us, because we depend on you guys for that. So make sure that you're doing that over there. Amanda, you want to tease anything that's coming on Patreon? You mentioned you got a couple things coming.
Yeah, well, one of them was a kind of a belated break or discussion on Andor. Some of a set of episodes that I thought I had posted and I forgot, so I'm calling it the lost episodes of Andor.
Love it.
That'll go up, and that might have been the one where Sarah, my co-host, and I were like, "This is the best one we've ever recorded." We actually, I think, stayed on topic, which is no small feat. But the one that's new is we went online, found some things that were labeled as Star Wars hot takes, and we discussed if they were actually hot takes or not.
Ooh, okay. I love it. Make sure you guys are over there. Go over to Patreon and do that. Well, today on Don't Burn the Sacred Text, we are back. It's been a hot minute since we've recorded one of these episodes, and we're going way back in the Wayback Machine and catching up on some of the books that we haven't talked about yet. And today we're going to be talking about Sanctuary, a Bad Batch novel, which I can never remember when they have like these shows into the books things, like what order they put it in. I'm like, Bad Batch, Star Wars Sanctuary, Bad Batch. It's Sanctuary, a Bad Batch
It's
novel.
the colon. The colon is confusing.
There's so many colons and dashes and M dashes. I don't even know what's going on anymore. But as you guys know, when we talk about these books, we like to rank them before we have our conversation, and then have our conversation about it, and then talk about our rankings after that. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It is out of 5. So Amanda, out of 5. And I got to preface this for everybody. We'll be honest and upfront. Pull back the curtain a little bit. It's been a minute since we've read this book. But from your recollection of said book, what do you rank it?
I am more of a vibes rater. Like,
Okay.
I'm not so critically analyzing things. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, actually. Because it came after a book I didn't enjoy, so it might have boosted it. Debated on this. I'm going to start off at a 3.5.
Okay.
I'm going to throw a decimal in there.
Throw a little decimal, put a little math in there. I like it.
See where the discussion goes. I'm a little flexible on this.
Well, I'm not too far off from you. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. This book really hit for me. I really enjoyed the experience of reading it. It was very much a vibes book in that it was. It really was just about the feel of it, and I think that's something with these books, like that are add-ons to stories, that are supplemental materials to stories. My first question always goes to, does it feel like the show, right? Like, for example, I'm reading Legacy right now, and I'm like, does it feel like a sequel trilogy movie? Do those characters speak the same way? Do people move the same way? Are the motivations consistent? Like, all of those things. And I think the biggest thing with this book that really solidified it as like one that I will definitely be revisiting is it felt like the Bad Batch. It felt
It
like the
really
set of
did.
Bad Batch episodes. Yeah.
It did.
Um,
Yeah.
so the author did a fantastic job of that. And also too, I really liked, and this is something I think the Bad Batch itself does well. You know, Clone Wars is got like the hodgepodge of episodes and arcs, and then Rebels you've got, you know, your consistent characters and stuff. Bad Batch kind of combined those two where it's got like arcs, but it follows a consistent story. You know, a lot of Rebels is like one episode, one episode, one episode, and then it all comes together at the end. This was in a lot of ways like different arcs, you know, within the Bad Batch, which I liked how they kind of put that together. And this book felt like that, where like you can see the distinct acts that are happening, but it's not like there's an abrupt stop. You know, that's something with going in the way back machine to Dark Disciple. Right? Dark Disciple was based on some Clone Wars episodes, and you can tell where the episode ends and the next one begins. And this book didn't do that, which I really, really appreciate.
Yeah, it really, like, across the board, when I was reading spoiler-free little internet-y things until before I was able to read it myself, was just how much it felt like an episode, or maybe like an arc of an episode, and that was a good thing. That people generally seem to enjoy that about it.
Yeah, you want those things to be consistent, because otherwise you're pulled out, right? If the characters are acting different, if their motivations are different, you know, things like that. You know, I personally like didn't really get into the Jedi games. Like, I've watched YouTube playthroughs, but I really loved Battle Scars. But it's kind of the reverse with Battle Scars, where I feel like some people felt, yeah, like it like pulled the characters in a different direction, and I was like, this is like my first real intimate experience with these characters, right? And so like this felt
it's mine
like
too, and I still didn't like it at all. That's okay.
Well,
that's another story.
Different strokes, different folks, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the way that, you know, Hunter and Wrecker and Tech and Omega all were not just who they were across the show, but who they were in that point in time, which is really impressive, because you've got a story where we had the complete Bad Batch. We know what happened to Tech, and just for you know the sake of talking about this, we'll just throw a spoiler warning in here, obviously for the book, but for all of the Bad Batch, just in case anything comes up. So if you haven't watched the Bad Batch and you're like trying to figure out whether you want to, just go and watch the show and then come back to this episode.
It's great.
It's so good. It's so good. But like, this happens between, it's set in season 2, in between the episodes Pabu and Tipping Point. And so you have these characters trying to help, you know, this island community rebuild after the tsunami that happens. You've got Echo away. Like, you've got all of these specific things that are happening in the story, and you were able to capture that moment in time. To me, that was really impressive, to not just get the characters right for what we know them through the whole story, but to really, like, you could have take this, like, put it in ChatGPT, say turn this into a script, and then make those some episodes, right? Like, you could like do that with this book, which was something that I think is just really impressive for the author of the book to be able to accomplish.
Do you think it's harder, easier, and different to set a story within such a narrow time frame, like in between episodes like that?
Well, it's kind of, I think it's hard because, again, you have to get that particular moment in time and that mindset, right? And it's these characters where they're going through a lot of emotional turmoil through the series, right? And so they're never really in one stable position, right? There's the push and pull of Crosshair. There's everything going on with Omega and her growth. There's their personal foibles and whatnot, right? Whereas if you look at like a Thrawn, for example, right? Because this is something that the Thrawn, second and third Thrawn books do, is they take place during Rebels, in the Ascent, and not in the Ascendancy trilogy, in the original trilogy of Thrawn books. And it's like, well, Thrawn is who Thrawn is.
The middle trilogy, right? Like the new, not the Heir to the Empire, but
not the Heir to the Empire, the original canon trilogy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the middle one, but there's also a duology in there, and
Yeah.
Star Wars is weird. But those two books, take place in
Hmm.
between Rebels episodes or seasons or whatever, and it's like, well, that character of Thrawn doesn't really change a lot, right? And so you can kind of do some more stuff with him in the books, to develop that character a little more, because Lord knows he needs it.
I'm
But
gonna
like
stick my
with
tongue out
these,
again.
I know, right? Um, with these characters, like, one, you're balancing so many, but two, you're balancing a lot of emotional turmoil, and you have to show some kind of change, but you can't change them too much to where it overpowers the show or undoes what is happening there. It was just I think it's a case by case basis, but this was a tightrope to walk.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
for example, with like the Fee and Tech stuff, right? Like, they wanted to develop that romance and make it more powerful for the show, which I think they did. But you also can't have them get together. You can't have, like, an intimate scene or anything like that like gives too much away to where it's like, oh, why are they behaving like that didn't happen in the show? You know what I mean?
Actually, one of the very few things I wasn't totally on board with in the book.
Okay.
I just, and it's, if one or the other didn't exist, I would be fine with it. But I really liked how they handled it in the show, where it was this, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Is it just a casual flirtation because Fee is Fee? Is she like
Yeah.
kind of poking at Tech a little bit because Tech is Tech? But then it seems like there's some genuine feelings there. I really liked the I don't know open ended part of that
Mm,
they kind of closed off a bit in the books. In the book, sorry. It's a
interesting.
personal thing, a preference. I don't think the show or I cannot talk today. I don't think the book was any worse for it, really. It just is a personal preference.
Well, I think that goes also to how you interpreted the show. Like, to me,
Yeah.
in the show, it was very obvious that Fee was like, I didn't read it in the show as if she was just poking at him. I thought it was very obvious that, like, oh, she likes him and he's not getting it, kind of thing.
Because it took me a long time to come around to the Fee character.
Same,
And
honestly.
so I didn't really, and I loved Tech. So I'm like, yeah, I just don't want these two together. I did
Yeah,
come around at the end, but I just heard Wanda Sykes the whole time. So it was more of a
I
voice acting thing, I think, than the
maybe.
character.
For me, I just wanted them to either do it or not. And my biggest
Yeah,
issue was they didn't commit to the bit, kind of thing.
yeah.
Where I was like, okay, either have this go all the way, and then you got a chance to show, like, Fee devastated after Tech's, death and
Yes.
stuff like that. And there was not really any of that because they didn't commit to it all
Right.
the way. So
And
it
that may be
was,
part of why was I making that up? Like,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Which, then that's something that the writer of the book then gets a chance to go, like, okay, well, they didn't go all the way with this, I'm gonna, like, make this a thing, and you don't overstep, right?
Yeah, right.
um and same thing with,
Delicate.
like, bringing in new characters.
Mhm.
You've got to bring in new characters for a book, but they can't have such an impact in the story that it's like, well, why aren't they there anymore, right? So
Mhm.
all of that was a real balancing act that I thought that they did a really good job of. And you obviously have to deal with the Pabu situation and the tsunami, and we know that they're helping during this time, and that's kind of the main motivation of
Yeah.
the book. What really gets it going is they go to this auction to get a relic to help fund Pabu. So basically, what's happening is they are the Bad Batch, which we see a little bit of this in the Bad Batch. They're doing missions and helping Fee get relics to be able to pay for the reconstruction of Pabu, right? It's a very Robin Hood thing: take from the rich, give to the poor, kind of idea. Um, but of course, it's the Bad Batch. It's Star Wars. Things go sideways. And they get exposed and have to fight and get away with it. So that's that whole, like, opening episode, I guess you could say, is them at that high stakes auction trying to get the relic. And they barely escape with it, right? And it's just it's pretty cool because it it's something where you feel like, okay, this is just like a setup and introduction to the characters, but then later you circle back and you realize like, oh, that was really important, right? It reminded me a lot of, I'm going to do a deep cut here, but it reminded me of the beginning of Master and Apprentice, where
It's been a
Qui-Gon and
while.
Obi-Wan are fighting off, I think they're fighting the Hutts, and you're like, oh, this is just like a show the characters, introduce things or whatever, and then you get to the end of the book and that actually comes back into play, is like that was a lead into what happens at the end. That was kind of how this book worked, where it's like, if that event didn't happen, the rest of the book doesn't happen, kind of thing, which I thought, was smart to introduce these characters to readers, because you have to, again, with the balance situation, you have to strike a balance of, well, these are characters that most people reading this book are gonna know, but there's gonna be somebody who picks up this book who's never watched The Bad Batch.
Right.
So you don't want to bash everybody over the head with so much character development that it's like, well, I already know this stuff. Why am I reading the book? But you can't have zero character explanation in there. And so this mission really allowed for that. And you get to kind of see each of their roles in there. So how did you feel about that first little mission at the beginning?
Okay, I'm gonna stretch my brain here. I think it was Omega going off and doing Omega things that
Pretty much
cause things to go sideways. Yeah. So
well, that and I don't remember if Omega does it or not, but the tech situation stops working. Like, not tech, the technology situation stops working, and their banking accounts get exposed or whatever it is.
Yeah. There was a lot. It wasn't one
conglomeration of things.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I just remember, because I rewatched Bad Batch fairly recently with my friend Isaiah, and I've already seen it, so I don't mind, and we're comfortable enough, we know that we like it, where we talk the whole time, like, we respond back to what's happening on the screen, and he's just like, of course it never goes to plan, like, how do they even keep getting jobs? Because there's, every single one of them goes haywire. And a lot of times it's Omega being her precocious self, or maybe not a lot, but a fair amount. And it just, as I was reading it, I could almost hear like Isaiah in my head, just like, oh, there goes Omega again. She's going to do what she's going to do. Which goes back to what you were saying about character development. It shows all of that quickly, who these characters are. I was also going to say, it probably doesn't hurt that their names are Hunter, Tech, and Wrecker. I think the author work. I think the author had a little bit of a head start on character development with names like that.
Yeah, which, like, then you can lead into Omega, right, and really show that character. And he does a good job of showing the youth of Omega, but also how, like, she doesn't fully understand this whole underworld situation, right? Like, the Bad Batch, the OG Bad Batch members, they understand it because they've been through the Clone Wars and they understand moral complexity and all of that stuff, right? And they've had to make hard choices. But Omega doesn't understand that really, right? And so, like, she's dealing with all of that. And that leads into the second mission. But before I get into that, did you have anything else you wanted to say on the first mission?
I was going to say, Omega's the heart of the show. Like, that's well established. And she's idealistic. So when she does her Omega thing in the book, I, again, don't remember specifics, but it was her trying to help a little creature or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's her heart is showing through there. It's a good thing.
It is,
but
and
could use some maturity, but still, that's just, she's a kid.
She's a kid, and that's what kids do, right? They lead heart first, and especially when they're raised in an environment like she's being raised in, where like empathy and love and affection is encouraged in the Bad Batch, right? Like, it's not seen as a weakness,
right?
And so she feels free to express those things. And sure, things are gonna go haywire sometimes, all the time, but like, she grows into being a good person because of it, and she's the one that really wants to help the couple, the fugitive couple that they're helping after that, right? So Fee has this idea to transport this mysterious couple from the Empire in exchange for more funds for Pabu, right? They're going to be paid for transport, right? No questions asked, as Obi-Wan would put it. Well, we come to find out that Kashiri is pregnant, and Kuto or Kuto, however it's pronounced. I'm assuming Kuto just because later we find out that this masked character is, dramatic drumroll please, a clone.
Yes.
And so the baby is that then has clone blood, which is going to be he's going to be kind of a bad batcher in terms of like not a pure genetic replication of Jango Fett kind of thing. So that complicates things even more. And then there's just layers upon layers of lies and hidden truths and all of these things going on, where that's the real tension of the book, is like Omega is still in this place where she is purely on the side of like, we help people, we do the right thing, like we have this choice. It's very much Luke Skywalker Battlefront 2, like a choice to be better kind of idea. And Hunter is like, yeah, I'd love to do that, but like that's not how the world works, that's not how the galaxy works. And so the push and pull between them, it's not a huge thing up front in the book, but like the characters themselves are set up as that tension.
This was one of the only other negative I had that I could remember, that, and again, mileage may vary, but Hunter's instincts were right in this book, and he was right to say the things that he said, and everybody was just blowing him off, and it really made me upset that nobody would listen to the leader of the group who has all this experience and just wants to do simple things like recon, or whatever, and keep his people safe. And yes, there has to be tension and conflict. Like, that's just basic storytelling. But it made me really mad that nobody ever would listen to him. Like, not one person. Just
yeah. Well, it's this idea, I guess, of like, when is it enough and when is it too much? Like, where is that line? And not everybody knows in this new galaxy that they're living in, right? Like in the Clone Wars, like they knew the ropes, right? Now they don't know the ropes anymore. And that to me is more the tension than like, I get what you're saying and I don't disagree. Like Hunter was right. Like we should make shirts for it. Like Hunter was right. Because
justice for Hunter.
Literally, because like,
who never gets to do any hunting, by the way. That's a Bad Batch thing I have.
Yeah.
They never show him off. Anyway.
Well, and like they never really like show or give time to like to let it breathe, that he was right in the show too. Like a lot of times when he's trying to protect people, he's right. But it's like, I think the difference is that like Hunter, in a way, and this is going to be kind of a crude explanation, but I think it just kind of is part of the point. He's pretty much willing to do anything to keep his people safe. And like his people are like, well, we're not willing to sacrifice our values to stay safe. And I don't know if Hunter would sacrifice his values, because we don't really get put in that position where he has to. But like, if any character was going to, it would be Hunter.
Right now, Isaiah and I are watching Rebels because he hasn't seen any of the animated stuff, and it's my favorite. So once a month we get together, we watch an arc, and that is a direct parallel to where we're at in Rebels with Kanan and Hera. Hera wants to join the Greater Alliance. Kanan just wants to keep his people safe and slowly like chip away at things in small ways.
That's a really good connection, and like that's kind of the reality of living in, I mean, they're essentially right now in this period, this dark time period, is kind of the Cold War, where it's like who's gonna throw the nuke first, and then the events of Rogue One are that first big swing, right? So it's like, how far does somebody have to go? And we learn in Rogue One, like somebody has to go to the point of being willing to give their lives for this greater cause. And we see little things of that, Kanan in Rebels and stuff like that. But like somebody has to be willing to give themselves to the bigger, greater cause. And I think if anybody in the Bad Batch was going to do that, like it's ironic because we see Omega go join the rebellion, but like Hunter pre Pabu would have been that person. And this is kind of that point of transition. And this book kind of shows that, where he's like, maybe I start listening to people more, and it can't go perfect this first time. Otherwise, there's no reason for the rest of the episode. It's bad,
Right.
for
Right. Or the book.
Or the book.
Right.
So,
I was just thinking, I'm a very very risk averse personality. And so I think that's why I'm kind of glomming on to the Hunter was right.
yeah.
And Kanan and Hera, I mean, I love Kanan so much. But I also love Hera. So I wouldn't necessarily pick one over the other in that situation. But if I had to, I probably would have gone with Kanan just for my own, at that point in time where we're at in season 2. Just because that's my personality. So I never thought about that. Those are the characters maybe I like right now.
The thing about like ensemble books like this is like everybody's going to connect with somebody, right? To some degree. And I honestly, like, reading the book, didn't really think about the fact that like Hunter was right about a lot of things. I was very much like, well, I know Omega's the driving emotional force in the show, so I'm going to agree with Omega because I'm a very driven by emotion person. So,
and I'm logical.
But we gotta, yeah.
And Omega would drive me crazy in real life. Love her, but she would drive me to insanity. So,
and which makes it so ironic that you and I are friends, like as close of friends as we are, because it's like we just come from very different angles of life, but we, but that's
friendships. You learn so much.
I was just about to say, like,
sorry.
That's what makes the Bad Batch work, right? It's like it is these so many different people who come together in this idea, and I think that's kind of what this book is trying to show, is like there are so many different angles of one situation. We'll talk in just a second about the villains of the book, because I really did like the villains in this book.
Me too.
But like, you've got all of the Bad Batch members have different perspectives on how to deal with Kashiri and Kudo. They have different perspectives on what they want, right? And it's like eventually they all come together to find this solution to get everybody what they, as close to what they want as possible. But it comes with a level of sacrifice and willing to connect and willing to be honest and all of those things that are foundational to a good relationship, right? Which makes, whether you're talking a friendship dynamic, a partnership dynamic, whatever kind of dynamic it is, it has to start with truth and honesty with each other, or otherwise it falls apart, right? And that's where we kind of transition to the villains, because we have this ISB officer, Central Crane, and then we have the construction magnate who her name is Celia Motton, I think is how you would pronounce it, who also like is running a criminal empire and knows Palpatine by his first name, and is just like burying people in her backyard. All of this stuff is happening.
Chilling the idea of this orchard.
Yeah, that was crazy work. And like the two of them, honestly, like if they worked together, probably would have won the day. But they so refused to work together, right? So you kind of have the contrast to the Bad Batch of Bad Batch all has different goals, right? They all want different things in this moment, but like also have the same thing they want in like Pabu, at least as far as the Batch is concerned. But
so kind of they Crosshair.
Yeah, except Crosshair. They all want different things, kind of. Whereas Crane and Motton, like, kind of want the same thing. Like, they want power. But, like, power is corrupting. And so they end up at odds with each other. And Crane kind of falls apart because of it, and gets owned. Because Motton is like, well, I know she. Which, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? At the end of the day. So, like, what was your feeling on these two characters in the book? And, like, were they, one, I guess, what were your overall thoughts? And two, were they worthwhile characters for the Bad Batch? Because we had in the show, we had some amazing villains. Like, are they up to snuff?
I really enjoyed them. I had a great time with these villains. And I think they served two different examples of of good villain, just
Hmm.
in different ways. So Celia was she's just bad. There's no layers to her. She's just bad, and she's fun because she's so bad. I don't think that every villain that we ever meet has to have layers. Sometimes I want an Ursula and the Little Mermaid who is just bad, right? And you just love to hate. But then Sindril had more layers to him. He like when I was now I okay when I read this was a well thought out thought. Trying to remember it, pull it from the memory banks. It's a little fuzzy, but I distinctly remember thinking that Sindril and Sohi, I believe was her real name, or no, what
Hmm.
was her real name? Yeah, okay. Those two are very similar to me to Saw and Jyn Erso
Yeah.
in the mentorship and the um like Sindril and Saw's approach to the ends justify the means and molding somebody, almost grooming somebody to be what they
Yeah.
want them to be. And his motivations, I felt, were much more complex than just the evil ISB agent. Whereas, like I said, Celia was just power. That's all. That's all she wanted was power. Whereas Sindril wanted something a little bit different. Like he wanted the power to do other things with it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And like he wanted the power to kind of have relationships in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
he was lacking that and trying to fill that in. And so like I wonder too if maybe there's this underlying thing of like he hates the batch because they have what he wants in an emotional sense too, you know? And Celia just doesn't feel like she just doesn't care. You
She's a
know, like
sociopath.
yeah, literally if you're burying people in your backyard and
Yeah.
using them to grow trees, like you're
Mm-hmm.
just a bad person.
Yes.
Um so that's a pretty simple scenario. But again, you're right. Like sometimes those characters do have a place, right? Like it's and I'm glad they bring these kind of characters into the books, right? Because Star Wars is so much about redemption, right? And but redemption and anything, but redemption in particular, like loses value if it's all you see, right? Because then everybody is redeemed, and so it's like, what's the point of going through redemption, right? Like you'll get this because you're a fellow teacher, but like I always used to tell my students, if you highlight everything, nothing's important, right? If
Right.
everybody gets redeemed, not every redemption matters. And so you need the Sheaves of the world. You need, yeah, I know them by first name too.
Right.
You
Yeah.
need the Celia Mottons of the world, right? Because it's like, okay, here's somebody who do they have the potential for redemption? I personally, honestly believe everybody has the potential for redemption, right? But are they willing to be redeemed? That's the deciding factor. And these characters have zero interest in
Yeah.
redemption,
Right.
right? And they really like don't I don't see with Celia that like she has this feeling like what she's doing is for the greater good or anything like that. Like it is personally and only about her own self interest, and
It's
that's
for
all she
her
cares
greater
about.
good.
It's
That's
for
it.
her greater good, 100%. Um, and like those characters, while they're simple, they can be really compelling because I think it's something I believe in the goodness of people. I think you do too. Like we see
Hmm.
the bad that
Hmm.
the world has, but we believe that people at their core are genuinely like start at a good place, right? And life happens to people sometimes, but like not everybody goes to that point. Not everybody holds on to that, you know? And so that becomes something that we have to wrestle with is like, yeah, do these people exist in our world? Absolutely. And like, what do we do about that? Right? Like, do
Right.
we try to redeem them or do we just try to bring them down? Which, you know, of course, this character gets brought down in this book.
Right. Right. It's interesting because this discussion coincides with a summer-long obsession, like deep, deep obsession with true crime.
Hmm.
And it's fascinating to me that a lot of these people who perpetrate some of the worst crimes almost every single time when they go into their background, it's abuse. You know,
Yeah.
it's abuse almost every single time, probably 99%. But not every person who's abused goes on to do these things. So it's
Yeah,
like the ones
it's a
who
choice. Yeah,
overcome are the ones who redeem. Not that they need redemption for other people's actions, but they make something beautiful from their lives, the
yeah.
ashes that they started with, whereas the others just dig further down into the ashes. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that exactly, but
Well, I
it's
think
just
that's
interesting.
kind of the Crane Motton dynamic, right? Is like, what are they going to make out of their lives? And I think Crane, you kind of like touched on a point there. Like, while he's, that character is not good, like they are trying to do something that they see as good,
I
right?
think he had potential. I think he was one of
Yeah,
those who could have achieved with the right interventions.
yeah.
Sarah and I joke all the time on the Patreon about how everybody in Star Wars needs therapy. I mean, well, we all do really, but Star Wars characters in particular just need a whole
Yeah,
heck ton of therapy. And if he
dude,
had gotten
we
his
need some
therapy,
more of those therapy droids from Alphabet Squadron for sure.
and then somebody like Celia, I get there's sociopaths and there's psychopaths, and I don't. If she had wanted to change, then she could have as well. It's wanting it, that choice that you said, and she didn't want to. There was nothing in her that wanted to make that change, and so she never would have.
Well, and that too juxtaposes her not just to Crane, but to the Batch themselves, right? Because the Bad Batch is going through this time where they are changing, where their desires are changing, where their wants are changing, right? And they're trying to decide what is the right direction to go. And there's almost a subtle message in this book. I don't think this is like a main theme, but I do think it's like something that goes throughout all of the Bad Batch is like, really, if you make a choice with good intentions, right, and a good heart, your choices don't really matter as much, like how you respond to their outcome does. But like if you make a choice that is like, if you've got a few right choices, right, like let's take all the bad decisions off the table, right, but you're in between a few good choices, like just make one and move on. And they're kind of in this place where they're not ready to do that. And like Motton is not ever going to do that. Like all she sees is like the bad choices, like the good choices are completely off the table. So there's this
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
juxtaposition between like this character who is very set in her choices and her ways and is not willing to change, and like these characters who, but whether it's Crane or the Bad Batch, who are kind of going through this point in time where they are going through a lot of change. And I think with characters like the Bad Batch, characters who you have to kind of, this is kind of the interesting part of like we'll call this a prequel book because it leads into other things, but I'm thinking of like Inferno Squad, right? Where you have to show their change, but you can't go all the way, right? You can't show Iden converting to the rebellion because that happens in the video game. But you have to show a clear, like, hey, if you only read this book, you know what's happening to Iden kind of thing of it all. And that I think is where Motton comes into place, is like she is showing that the Batch will change in a way because she's in this position where like she has all the power, all the ability, all the capacity and knowledge and everything that she could change if she wanted to, but she has no interest in doing it. And the Batch
right.
like become more respectable because they have none of that and they're still willing to do it.
I had a thought and I lost it.
Oh, I hate when that happens. But like overall, I just feel like the Bad Batch deals with really complicated ideas, right? Or actually, I think it's better to say the Bad Batch deals with really simple ideas in complicated ways. And I don't mean that they
Yeah, 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 yeah.
complicate it for no reason. I think it's like, and maybe this is just my own moral compass and values and justice system and stuff like that. So like, if you disagree with me, like respectfully in the
Okay.
yeah, in the comments
Oh
wherever
yeah,
you're seeing this, like let's have a conversation.
love it.
um but like, simple things like light versus dark, and putting empathy first and leading with love and choosing people over power, and these things are, to me, they're very simple answers, but they're very complicated in how you express them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you do
Mm-hmm.
have your own baggage, you have your own experiences, you have your own abilities, talents, power, all of that stuff. And that's really what the Bad Batch deals with, is like how do you take the set of skills that you have, the set of talents that you have, the set of experiences that you have, and apply them to make the galaxy a little bit better? And that is kind of where we find the Batch in this book, and in like trying to help Pabu, right? That is how they're trying to express it. And then of course in the show we get kind of that experience of, well, Pabu is kind of small fish, when like you guys have the ability to change something even bigger. And that's something that Star Wars deals with a lot too. And this book I appreciated, we got more of that intimate setting of like helping these two people and helping Pabu, and we didn't need it to be any bigger than that, right? And I really appreciated just that chance that we kind of like this. It's funny because like this happened after the show, but like if we had gotten this as a set of episodes, I feel like this would have been the episodes where we just kind of like took a breath for a second, where it's like, okay, the stakes kind of settled down and we can just focus on Pabu for a minute. And I think the show does that well enough for the time that it has, but this just adds to that.
I was just thinking too that to add to everything you just said, what also helps us, and this is such an obvious thing really, but something I've learned more about as I've gotten older, with age comes wisdom and all that jazz. But hopefully, the more people I talk to, I used to be very, very dogmatic, and I am learning, and I was judging McJudgerson all over the place. Like I didn't know I was until I got older and self-reflected on that part of my earlier life. And
Right.
the more people I talk to, the more I understand different situations, and I may not fully agree with that person, but I know where they're coming from, and it's almost always from a place of love anyway. Like we just see how to implement things differently. But I was just thinking how that helped with the Bad Batch. They're talking about how they're changing and learning and growing. They're also bumping up against like the people of Pabu, like, and they're learning that it's not like their family can grow, and they also can learn from other people and become better for it. So.
For sure. And that's really like going back to Hunter, like I think that's really where he becomes powerful in this story, is he's very hard-headed and in like this is how things have to be. Like that's how he really believes. Like it has to be this way because of the situation around us, and him dealing with the situation with Kashiri and Kato, like it's him having to go like, oh, maybe there is a different way, and him learning to kind of lead with empathy, which is Omega over leads with empathy and Hunter under leads with empathy. And like they're finding that balance in between the two things. And for me personally, like empathy is the most powerful thing we have in this world, right? You just kind of touched on it, like what you were talking about being able to see things from somebody else's perspective. Like that's just empathy, right? And so all of these characters are starting to work on seeing things from other people's perspective, which becomes really important when Omega goes to Crosshair and like is, she can see from his side of things, but she refuses to accept that that's his endpoint. And I think that's something that's really powerful about empathy, is like it's not saying, empathy doesn't say like, oh, that's who you are and that's fine to stay that way. Empathy says like, I understand how you got there. And then love takes us to, but I think you can be better. I think you can, grow more, whatever. And that's where these characters are really living right now. And for me, and just like what I love about life and my values, that's a really powerful story, and which is why I really loved this book.
I also love that it was a one-off, and my goodness, after High Republic, I needed more one-offs. Like, or this is in the middle of that, or whatever. But reading High Republic, I'm like, and even now I'm reading, I think 3 different series at the moment, and I'm like, I just need some one-off books. Like, no more series, just that. And it's also a low-stakes story, like kind of you were saying, it's the moment to breathe, and that's also. It's nice to not have the galaxy ending every now and then.
Yeah.
So
for sure. And I mean, you nailed it with like it being in the middle of the High Republic too, where like the galaxy is ending.
Yeah, right.
And this is like, no, we're just showing
planets are getting eaten alive.
Character story. Literally.
Right.
And which is kind of, this is a side tangent, but like I think is relevant too, is kind of more of a testament to something that I've been saying a lot. And Devore and I talk about this on the main show, and we haven't had a chance to talk about it on here a ton. I feel like Star Wars publishing has really found their footing, not just in terms of the quality of content that they're putting out, but when they're putting it out. You know, you like you were saying, like you get this one-off story that is kind of a more of a just a character-driven story in the midst of the High Republic, which is this broad spanning story with tons of characters and a lot of stakes and everything like that. This book is just like, no, here's a couple characters and they're learning how to be nice to other people kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what it is.
Right.
You know? And that I think, you know, gave us a little break from the Bad Batch, or not from the Bad Batch, from the High Republic, brought us back to the Bad Batch, you know, reminded us of something else that we love, and hopefully, you know, brought people to go explore that show again or whatever. I definitely want to go back and revisit it. But even looking at like what we're getting now, you know, like they pair for the Last Order, which we'll talk about on the show soon, with like Legacy coming out, and it's like, okay, we're gonna get you back in the sequel trilogy era mindset, and what's coming up? Celebration. We're gonna release some Starfighter stuff that's in sequel trilogy. Like there just seems to be, in the beginning, I will never not absolutely adore like when Disney canon first like got going, and you had Tarkin and A New Dawn and Dark Disciple and all of those things, right? But there was this era, and it's not that the books are bad, because we got things like, you know, Leia, Princess of Alderaan. We got
one of my favorites,
stuff like that. One of the best books in Star Wars. But there was an era where it was like, we're just going to put it out because the story exists. And now it's like, okay, we have this story. We're going to put it out for a purpose. You know, not just in terms of the story itself, but in terms of like where it falls in our publishing timeline. And that's just, I don't know, it's just a side observation, but I find it really cool that there's that intention behind it, where Star Wars has been kind of haphazard of late, you know, after the sequel trilogy finished. It's kind of like, we're just gonna guess what comes out next, is what it feels like.
And I enjoy the sequels.
Like it's not doing that.
I enjoy the sequels very much, but you can definitely make the argument those were haphazard as well. So,
yeah. So again, we need to make this into shirts too. Like publishing got it right. Like Disney Publishing is really nailing it right now.
And animation. They're not cartoons. They're animation, and they're amazing.
Animation is crushing it too. And hopefully, whether it's Shadow Lord or whatever, like it's like everything except for the live action side of things seems to have it figured out. But
can I give you a quick little tangent on that one
Yes.
About the live. Okay. So this thought does not come from me. It comes from another podcast called Friends from Work that I was listening to about the Hall H Marvel panel at Comic-Con that just happened. And one of the big announcements there was that Ryan Gosling is going to be Ghost Rider. And he's going to have a Ghost Rider movie. And that Shawn Levy is directing. So that pairing is also the pair for Starfighter, right? And Kevin Feige said in the panel that he watched Starfighter, absolutely loved it. And that shows the argument that they made on this podcast was, if Feige saw the Star Wars property and the two together doing that piece of work and decided to keep them together for his movie, that must mean that they have a lot of faith and confidence in this movie.
Dude, I hope so.
I hope so. I loved him in Hail Mary, so I'm on board with Ryan Gosling. But
I will always live in that space where I'm not going to really trust anything until after the movie comes out, because because of the response to The Last Jedi, you know, and the listening to the internet of it all.
And I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, it was a rough time. It was a rough time, especially if you're like myself, a Last Jedi fan.
Me too.
and like, it's just undeniable that they did listen to them, whether you agree that they should have or not. Like, it's undeniable that they did, and that has become more and more of a problem. Instead of like trusting, you know, the people who have been doing this for a long time and have a track record of success, like George Lucas kind of had it right in this mentality of like the audience doesn't know what they want. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he was like, you don't know you want this. It's very much Marty McFly in Back to the Future, where he's like, you're not ready for this yet. That was very George Lucas, and I want more stories like that. We weren't ready for the High Republic. We had to learn how to read the High Republic, right? And same thing kind of, with this. We kind of have to learn how to read books that happen after a show but take place in the middle of the show. It's a very different dynamic than it's ever been before. But I do feel like overall, I had a period where I was doubting, but I feel like Star Wars overall is finding its footing, and this book definitely is just a piece to show that.
What really swayed me into more optimism, well, A, we're actually getting the movie. That's a big part. And then also the fact that it's not just Ryan Gosling in the role. It's not just Sean Levy as the director. It's the two of them together who just came off a project together that Feige saw. So I feel like there's a lot of credibility towards it being a good movie, but we shall see.
We'll find out. In the meantime,
yes,
there's going to be plenty of Star Wars books, everything to keep us interested. Would you want to see another Bad Batch book, or do you feel like no,
100%?
Yeah,
okay. Loved it. Loved them. Okay. Which is funny because I really did not enjoy them in the Clone Wars. I just I was like, why? And now I want all of it. Give me the comics, give me the books, give me Well,
and they keep releasing like little tidbits here and there, so it doesn't seem like the Bad Batch is going away anytime soon. So hopefully we'll have some more.
See Omega pop up.
For sure, that would be great.
Really need to see. I would love to see her pop up in one of their projects.
Yeah. Hey, who knows? Maybe Starfighter will have an Omega.
I know. There's always those whisperings of hope. Always.
I'm not gonna hold my breath on that one, but it would be
cool. No, but it would be so awesome just because they teed it up right at the end there of the show. But
yeah. As far as this book goes, though, let's give our final rankings and then we'll kind of land the ship. So you started at a 3.5. And we talked about this book, and I gave my arguments where I was at with a 4. So where do you land your final ranking?
Oh, further decimal it to 3.75.
Ooh, okay. A little movement. I approve.
But it's a lot when it's only out of 5, right?
Yeah, it's a lot when it's only out of 5. That's true. That's
and actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
It's, to be really honest, I really wanted to give it a 4 when I was thinking about it. And I'm like, but I feel like that might be too high. So I don't want to like back down I don't want to give into the pressure.
That's fair.
But it was my original thought. But then I did have a couple issues that I thought were big enough to bring it down. Anyway.
Well, like I'm going to meet you. I'm going to see you. I'm not going to raise you, but I am going to raise my score to 4.25.
Awesome. I love
it. Because I don't think this book is in the pantheon of like 5s like a Brotherhood or Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade or anything like that.
We can debate that one. Okay.
Hey, watch your mouth. I can kick you off the show.
Some intense Star Wars hot takes for books. I really, really do. It's quite interesting.
There's a future episode. We're doing that.
Yeah, we can do that. I've got some that'll just light you on fire. Like you're gonna be so mad at me.
Well, as far as this one goes, though.
Yes. Sorry.
No, you're good. My kind of final take. I don't know how hot it is, but my final take is like, it is definitely the best Bad Batch book we could have gotten.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the best tie-in book we could have gotten. I think everything hits really well. There is the it kind of got pinned in a corner where it's like it couldn't do too much. Yeah, and that is part of the challenge, right? Which is both credit to the author for being able to do that, but also kind of does take away from the rereadability of the book, especially if you don't know what's going on at Bad Batch at that time, or or you haven't recently rewatched it. So that stops it from fully being a 5. But overall, super happy with this book and hope we get more Bad Batch stuff.
I thought it was a pleasant surprise. I mean, I start things to enjoy them, but I just wasn't like, how's this going to work out? It worked out wonderfully.
So good. So good. So we are Gonna call it right there, guys.
Yes.
But we are not calling it a series because we do have more books to catch up on. We, of course, have the Acolyte, the Crystal Crown. We got to catch up on. The Last Order is coming, and then once Legacy is done, I know we're gonna hop on and talk about that. So, Lindsay, of course, will be back on the show at some point soon. We'll have other people helping us catch up. So, more Don't Burn the Sacred Texts are coming. So, if you're a Star Wars book fan, of course, we're always talking about it across the network. Whether it's Devore and I over on the main show digging into what we're Star Warsing lately, or over here on Don't Burn the Sacred Text. So make sure you're subscribed to get all of that stuff and stay up to date on the latest news there, including the book that I'm writing, which is called The Wayseeker's Path, that you guys will be able to get on Amazon by the holiday season. I am rapidly editing that. We're working on artwork, cover art, all that stuff. So it's coming together, and I'm super excited for you guys to see that project that Mark and I are working on.
That's awesome.
Amanda, if they want to keep up with you, of course, they can go to patreon.com/clashing sabers for a donation. But where else can they keep up with what you're doing and see you?
Probably about it at this point. I
Yeah.
have really pulled in, figured out. Last year did a number on me. We'll just, keep it simple, and pulled into what I need to do most in my life, and some of it was simplification. So,
Simple is good. Of course, like we have a lot of stuff going on here, but it does come back to that simple idea of like, let's just talk about Star Wars.
yeah,
And that's
make
the
it fun.
beauty. Make it fun. And that's the
It
beauty of
kind of stopped
Patreon.
being a little bit fun there for a minute. So we just,
For a minute there, it did have its lull.
well, and
but
Sarah was getting her master's at the same time as teaching. So we just both were like, let's wait till the summer to catch up on things.
Well,
So we're
super
back,
glad you guys are crushing it over there. So make sure you guys give a look over there. Give a look on all our social medias, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, we're on Threads, at Clashing Sabers. Our awesome Facebook group, Amanda participates over there too, on the Facebook group from time to time. So all of that stuff is going on. Make sure you're staying locked in because we are not going anywhere. We've been doing this for almost a decade now at Clashing Sabers.
Oh my gosh.
It's just crazy. Absolutely crazy to think about. From the start of the website to where we are now, it's just been great, and just love having you guys on the ride with us. So make sure whatever you do, you keep reading, keep writing, but whatever you do, don't burn the sacred text.
No, please don't.